Okay, now let's talk about your inspirations.
Okay, inspiration-wise, well, this is going to sound probably a little bit strange, but I was at my earliest. I was inspired by religious images. I remember as a little kid going to churches and seeing these, amazingly colorful and sometimes gruesome pieces of art, and it just kind of struck me like of having this image of Christ on a cross with blood and everything. And I thought it was kind of strange and disturbing in a way. So I guess those are my first inspirations. Aside from that, comic books. I was fortunate enough to have been given comic books very young as a kid. So I was raised on Batman, I was raised on Superman, Conan, you name it. If it was in a comic book form, I would probably read it, except for romance comics. But that being said, around the age of 11 or 12, I saw my first Frazetta painting in a magazine, and I just kind of, when you see like Frazetta's art for the first time, it kind of kicks you in the head because it looks like it's something that actually existed. It has that kind of classical vibe, but it's still kind of brooding and foreboding. So from that young age, Frazetta had a definite imprint. A few years later, Richard Corbin, big inspiration with his use of color, his sculptural shapes, his three-dimensional quality to the art. And I pretty much modeled all my early art after those guys, maybe a little bit too much. But you have to start somewhere. In the later years, I got very influenced by Simon Bisley, Dave McKean, Bill Sienkiewicz, and all those that new style of comic artists who had a more artistic way of expressing themselves. So the use of paint, the use of collage, the use of computers in a certain sense. So I kind of modeled myself a bit after all those people. Those were all my inspirations. And of course, you can't have to mention Michelangelo, Rembrandt, and you name it, all the classical painters. And in modern times, I was also a fan of the pop art movement with Roy Lichtenstein. So it's a big melting pot of inspirations and influences. Sorry, and even to this day, I'm still inspired by any new painter that comes on the scene. That's just exciting.